so, so thinking back about the reasons why you went out there, right? And then the pushback from Houston, from the district attorney, from the police. I mean, what do you think when you go back in your head and you think, was it worth it to go out there? Like, what do you feel like you lost? Do you feel like you gained out of the whole thing? Or?
Well, if I wouldn't try to say that we made this humongous change from this action, and I'm also thinking back or imagining it, if I had known that it was going to be a felony, would I have done it? Would I have thought it was worth it? And that's debatable. On different days I feel different ways. But what I do know is that I gained a lot as a person. Just experiencing that whole situation, the negatives of it, their reaction, the way they handled it, their apathy for ruining people's lives, and really their apathy for just hearing about what the people want or feel about anything, was not necessarily a positive thing, but it was something that I really needed to experience and to know. And I think it was just a really great opportunity for an example. So not only did we go out there and protest and bring a lot of light to that situation of the labor, but we also brought a lot of light to the judicial system and how all of that is bogus and how all that works and how they handle it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that wasn't the intent, but because of the way that it all happened, because of the police interaction, and because of the fact that they didn't say anything about it, and all of that stuff, it really does show a lot about how the court system works for protesters.
Right.
Right. What do you? I feel like I got something out of going to jail. What do you feel like you got out of going to jail?
Well, I'd been to jail a few times before that, so I wasn't like in the surprise, shocked, like really overwhelmed, hurting, fearful state that you are when you go to jail for the first time. But my role actually in jail at that time, or that particular time, was really helping others to be in the same like understanding that it's going to be okay, even though you're in this really scary and awful place. It's hard to remember that you have a whole organization out there of people who are totally there for you, and that it's all good, and that your life is going to continue on and be fine, like no matter what the charges end up being, really. But it's very overwhelming and a very scary time, and having been through it before, I was able to guide a little bit and not lose my shit like I had in the past. So going to jail was...
Did you have any tough encounters, or was it?
Mm-mm.
They were pretty okay?
I mean,
with you?
they don't love you, They ask you questions that are really obnoxious and rude, like about what you're doing and why you would do that and all of these things. But it can penetrate you if you let it. But they weren't that bad.
Because when we were talking with some of the inmates, they had heard about it. Mm-hmm. Some of them had. Mm-hmm. And they were just asking us about it. Were the girls asking you about it, or were you talking with them?
Yeah, once I got into the big dorm, they were all wanting to know what was going on. And really, 95% were like, hell yeah, way to go. If I was out, I'd be doing that because I'm in here for, this reason and this reason that the system it really did to me, kind of thing, or cornered me, or however you want to look at it. But most folks were really empathetic toward the whole movement and situation, and really down for what we were going through.
You feel like they understood what was going on, because they lived through it.
Right. Well, maybe they didn't know all of the layers and layers. Perhaps some, not others.
Yeah.
But there was a level of understanding that there's this broad suffering that's happening in our country and in the world that is due to the system and the way that the hierarchy and everything is set up. So it doesn't matter who you are, you're suffering from it, and you feel that within you, and they felt that. They related. They had that same kind of understanding.
What did you take us through the day. Like, how did you get out to Houston, and just give me like a summary of that day.
It's kind of hard to remember, and who knows why? Maybe I blocked it out a little bit, but I rode up there with in a car with a group of 3 others, no one who I really knew all that well that I recall, up to Houston from Austin. And we got there and arrived at the park, which I actually can't remember the name right now, but it's right there across from their city hall.
It's Tranquility Park.
Tranquility, that's right. We showed up to Tranquility Park, and there was just people everywhere, lots of color, signs being worked on, a lot of energy, and just like this, as I said, energy, just this crazy awesome energy that was very inspiring. And I got into making a sign, and I actually was feeling like really happy to be there and to like be with family and doing something that we cared about and working on it. So at this point I was in a very ecstatic state, really just feeling that passionate, jiving, vibrating energy of the park. And then we got in the car and things kind of amped up more. I decided to go with a different group of people up to the actual port. And we were in a truck, and we actually had a refrigerator in the back of the truck. And 2 people were sitting in the back. Actually, I was one of the people sitting in the back of the truck with Millie and with Eric.
What was the refrigerator? Was that for the camp in Houston?
No, we took it from the camp. They weren't using it, and we decided to use it as a blocking device.
Oh, really?
So as we drove through and did a U-turn underneath the highway, like ramp or whatever, we pushed it out of the back, and there's like cops everywhere. And we just like drove off, and they just stared at it and didn't do anything and didn't come after us. So we got to the park, we got out of the vehicle really fast and just like walked there with everybody else.
Got to the park? You mean you got to the port?
From the park that we parked at. It was like a smaller playground, parking lot that everyone parked in, and then we walked a few blocks or whatever it was over to the port again. Okay. So we drove by it, parked, and then walked back. And the fridge was gone by the time we got back. It was like no big deal, but we all were really excited about it. And so then once we got there, you're lined up on the sides of the entrance driveway, and there's like big gates everywhere and stuff, and cops on horses and cops on foot, and we're just shouting our usual shouts and being really passionate and upset and holding signs. And then people started kind of going in the street a little bit, and that wasn't cool. They came up with the horses very abruptly and kind of like, they kind of bump you with their horse. They want you to like do something or move, and kind of get really close to stepping on your feet with this really heavy horse and push you back to the side. And at some point it just started, the tension started building. And as it got higher and higher, more people went into the street. And then people started bringing out the lock boxes. And I saw it like kind of over to the side, and I was with Millie, and she was like, I'm going to do it, let's do it, we need to do this. And I thought about it for a second, and I think I may have asked her some legality question like what kind of charge we could possibly get, and she was repeating what she had heard earlier, that it would be a misdemeanor just blocking a roadway, as it has always been. So I was like, all right, fuck it, let's do this. And so we went up on the hill where Yatsel and Remington were helping to put them on people, and I hooked up to Remington, and on the other side was Millie, and we all lined up in the street, and everybody else like kind of got pushed out and cleared away, and then there we were down the street a little ways.
The other side wasn't Millie. Millie was attached to Eric.
Yeah, Eric. Oh, were they only attached to each other?
We
were just sitting next to each other.
I think it was like, because I was more or less in the middle with Remington, and then you were on that side of Remington. Elijah was on this side of me.
Yeah.
And Matt was on this side of me.
Yeah.
No, Elijah was. Elijah wasn't.
It's hard to remember.
Elijah was. I remember.
Okay.
Now, and it was Matt. But I want to say you were the last one. You were the last one on the right side.
I was the last
one. And Jamin, somebody might have been holding on.
Yeah, Jamin went to the other side.
Oh yeah, he did go to that.
He went to the... Well, first he sat in front of us. Just like sat there. Like we were in a line and he sat in front of us. And then he decided, I'm going to go to the side and try to like link up. And he went all the way to the other side that I was at. And he linked up. I remember, man, they were like not very nice to him and to Matthew. I remember that. Especially Matthew, actually. Just like being really, really physically rough, like smashing of the face and, you know, pushing against the concrete and in all sorts of funny directions and twisting the arms and stuff. And he really...
You're talking about Saleha?
I don't know who was doing
it.
Big,
tall Matthew?
Yes.
Yeah, they were putting their fingers up his nose, too.
Yeah, they were being really, really brutal, very harsh with him, I remember. And he wasn't doing anything, really. He was just being still, you know, wasn't cooperating. But... I guess they just rolled, it wasn't too bad of a fight with Jamin. He kind of just rolled with it. And then they brought out the tent and covered everybody up. And that just was like, holy shit, what are they going to do? That was the scariest moment of the whole thing. What could be the purpose of this tent? All you have to do is take out a bolt from these PVC pipes and we're out. You know? What are you going to do with this tent? And as they're going down the line, I'm watching as much as I can. Because they have you like, oh no, I think we had laid down. So, you know, you can only see so much that was happening down the line. But I noticed, finally they figured that out. You just take the bolt out and go down the line. So they were coming down. And actually, Remington and I had linked our D-rings that were attached to chains around our wrist together, and we were going to stick together because then if they take the bolt out, then we're still in there. Oh. And he pulled it off at the last second.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, because he didn't want them to pull out like a saw or something like that. At least I think that's why. Mm-hmm. So then they came down and they weren't nice, but they didn't hurt me, you know, and they got me real tight in the handcuffs and everything and kind of push you around and get you, even though you're walking just perfectly cooperatively, they just like have this instinct to be as rough as possible and take you to the car. Or what was it? No, I was in a paddy wagon, I believe.
Did they take you to those pens? They took a bunch of the guys to this like little. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if I saw you. I can't remember.
Yeah, we were in pens next to each other, like in some random parking lot somewhere, miles away.
It was close by. It was close by. But it wasn't at that road. But it was like down the way.
Right, and just like drop us off in these pens like we're cattle. In order to do all the paperwork and stuff, they like pull out this fold-out table and have everybody come sit down, and they have these folders for each of us and write down all of our information. And that was funny because the girls couldn't talk to the guys, just like in jail, you know. So me and Jamin are like talking and across the fence, and they're getting all mad and stuff. That was just like, at this point you're having fun because you're still in this mode of like, look what we did and look what they're trying to do. Oh, this is so serious. Like, they're writing our names down on pieces of paper because we're horrible, horrible criminals, you know. So we're kind of having fun with that whole mentality at this time. And so then they load us back up and they take us to the jail. And that process is all just very slow and miserable. Filling out all the paperwork and having you just sit in the booking room. And you're not allowed to talk. And if you talk, then you get sent to like a private room by yourself. And who knows how long you'll be there. And you go up to in Harris County we sat in like this white room with benches all along the outsides and a toilet. And we sat there for hours and hours and hours, you know. In Travis, they put you in a solitary cell within at least the first 5 hours or something. But with this one, they just put you in this room with everybody else, and you're there forever. And then you get taken to a different room, and then you get taken to the nurse, and then you get taken to a different room, and you're all just like traveling from room to room to just sit there in this bright whiteness with the concrete everywhere. And they feed you like a bologna and cheese sandwich and an oatmeal cream pie every 6 hours or something like that. And I'm a vegetarian and try not to eat processed food, so that was really hard. I was just eating a lot of oatmeal cream pies, trading people. So going through that whole situation, meeting a lot of really neat people, having a lot of really awesome conversations, not only with Millie, whom I was in there with, but, and, very, very close, and we supported each other a lot through all of that, but with the other inmates who were there, the primary question is, what are you in for? And it's really interesting to hear their stories, and also it was very interesting to hear their feedback of ours, And as I said before, so many people were just like really, I wouldn't say necessarily impressed, but like kind of awed by folks stepping out of the regular and taking that chance, because there's so much at risk. They think about their families, and they think about their homes, their bills they have to pay, and feeding themselves and everything like that. And it's just like totally out of their reach, doing anything about it or having any sort of participation in this kind of activity. So there was appreciation there.
What was going through your mind, when you heard about the charges? Like, what were you thinking about that day? And I mean, it didn't end on the 12th, right? So, take me all the way up to the courthouse, up to when we first saw the judge. Like, what was going through your mind about the charges, or what did you understand about them? What did you feel about that?
That was just so complicated. The whole time it was just confusing. In jail you hear felony and you're just like, what? Wait a second, what's going on? You want to ask questions, but nobody's going to answer any of your questions. They don't care that you understand or have any sort of ease of mind, the sheriffs who are within the jail system. And so you're just waiting and waiting, and then you all get out, and it's very exciting, but it's also very scary. And we came in for court for that first time, and there was still a level of excitement for me, just like that all this just happened, and look what we stood up for. It feels really good. And then there's also this really, really, really overwhelming fear, like this question, you don't have control of your life for the next 5 or 10 years, possibly. And that's freaky. That's something you kind of have to block out. I kind of had to block out that thought, like that is a possibility. I had to take that out of my mind, because it wasn't healthy to just like think about that and be scared and dwell on it. So really, optimism was my medicine, to just keep remembering that there's no way that it's possible for, even though it's happened so many times in history, but of course in my life I want to believe that there's no way that this thing that I did that's really for the good of all people could come back and put me in a situation that would be not, I don't know. Hold on, I want to rephrase that.
Okay.
Now I'm having different thoughts on it. There's this overwhelming fear, but I had to kind of block it out. And I did that because optimism was just more healthy for me to hold on to. The idea that it just wouldn't happen that way. Even though I know that people get...
I gotta stop. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got this thing that's causing some bit of play here. It's sticking to it was kind of sticking to the back of your head.
Okay.
And it's moving.
I'll scooch up a little bit.
It's moving when you move your head around.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, let's move on from that, because I can't phrase that how I want to.
Okay.
Now.
That's okay. So that's fine. We've talked about a lot of good stuff. I want to go ahead and move up to start talking about a little bit of what you think about the undercover officers. I kind of want to get an idea or your impressions. What did you think of that photo? Once we learned who Butch was, who Shannon was, What do you think of that photo where it's like before the eviction during the NDAA rally, and he's still there. He's like behind you. Well, like, what do you think about that?
Oh, when I saw that picture, my heart sank. My heart sank to my stomach. I, of course, remembered having taken the photo and had it online, but I hadn't taken the time to notice who was standing right there. That person wasn't significant in my mind until there was the knowledge that he was an informant. So seeing that was reality check. Like, they've been right behind you a lot, right there, watching your every move and documenting it. And you just I felt really trapped. I felt really helpless. It's like you can't do anything about it. They're going to be there if they want to be. And that's so intimidating. So seeing that picture was like it was a reality check, shock back to what's going on and how real it all is, all that scary stuff people talk about.
What do you think about what was your thought? What was your first thought when you heard about the undercovers coming to court and starting to learn more about their involvement? Like, what do you think about how you thought about Occupy after that, or how you thought about organizing or being active, or after you had that new information? What was sort of going through your head about that?
I definitely had a lot of questions, and I questioned the method more than anything. Like, is this really the right way for us to go about this? We want to make a change. We want to help people and improve life. We want all beings to have the same opportunities in all of this. But is this the right thing to do? Like, going out and yelling and holding signs and locking yourself up and stopping the flow of some cash for some really not healthy corporation, and like risk your life. Is it worth it? Is it the right method? And I ended up really rethinking that a lot, actually. And throughout the next few months, I ended up starting a co-op, co-creating a co-op with 9 other folks from Occupy who also believed that we needed to make a tangible alternative for the lifestyle that we were all stuck in and that everybody was fighting against, on all this systemic cruelty that's like a ripple effect of working that 40-hour-a-week job and paying those bills and being completely dependent and being influenced by all the advertisements and brainwashed and all of that all the time. So it's like, what can we do about it that's more real right now, and like set an example and teach other people to do the same? And that was to like start our own little community so that we could cultivate the ideas we were finding resonated more with us than what the system gave us originally. So I was very inspired to do that after really thinking about how all of that went down and seeing how close of a proximity that the system really was and what a hand they really had in your life, after recognizing that those guys were so involved in our every move. Yeah, I just wanted to I wanted to get out of it. I didn't want to be I don't know what the word is. Oh, well, it's okay. That's all.
Okay. I feel you. What do you want to say? Is there anything specific that like you've thought about, or something that's important to you that you'd like to mention about all of this, or Occupy, or whatever?
Well, after what I just said, I would like to say that it's so worth it to stand up and like learn from that sort of environment, that community environment that is everybody uniting together and doing what feels real and right for them. And so by no means am I saying, by describing my my leave from the movement and in a very high activity role anyway, my leave from the movement to come and start something like a community and concentrate my efforts that way, it's still very worth it to go out there and do those actions and like feel how real it is that we can overcome it. Like being with all of those people and all of you working together to do the same thing makes it really concrete in your heart that you can do it, and helps you with your strong determination and your optimism and your belief that there are other options and things you can do about it. So I want to just say that if there's like a passion in you, express it how you need to at that time. That was how I needed to express it at that time, and how all those other people really needed to express it at that time. We needed to be heard, and no one was listening. We had the idea that we had to get out there and be blocking roadways and trying to prohibit people from doing this business that's hurting so many. And now I just am in a place where I don't have that desire. That's not my pull. That's not my strategy anymore. But like, that's a really fantastic strategy, and I am really thankful for that time that I was a part of it, all those people who were a part of it and wanting to do that too, and all the people in the future who are continuing to take that sort of action.